working themselves up into the party spirit, which will carry them and us into land of hope and glory and the rest of it a bit later on. How they've got any energy left beats me, because the people in the front row there have had to wait on the pavement outside the Albert Hall, not just for hours, but for days and nights for the privilege of being on the rail. But that's all part of the fun if you're made that way. At least that's the impression I got when I went and had a chat with some of them earlier today. Do you enjoy the queuing part of the Proms?
Absolutely, superb. Wouldn't have a seat any day.
Now then, which of you three was first in the queue?
I was, I'm afraid.
You were. When did you arrive?
24th of August.
So that makes how many days?
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 weeks. Exactly 3 weeks.
But what does it mean? You sleep out here, do you, every
Yes,
night?
you have to sleep outside the Albert Hall. You're allowed up to 3 hours off each day to have a cup of coffee, a shower, and then shave and whatever. But, yeah, it involves sleeping out, literally.
And you've been to a lot of other concerts?
I've been to about 60 of the 67 proms that we've had.
That's pretty good. And you enjoyed it?
Yes, absolutely superb.
How do you come to be here?
My daughter developed an interest in classical music a couple of years ago, so I brought her. And once I brought her, she wanted to come again and again and again.
So have you been queuing up as well?
I have indeed.
Mm-hmm. How long?
6:15 this morning, was it we arrived? Because these two wanted to be here early, you see.
Have you been to the last night of the Proms before?
Yes, I went last year, but I was in the gallery last year. This year I'm in the arena.
I see. Is that better to be in the arena, do you think?
Yeah, because you have more atmosphere.
This is my, sixth, and the first time I haven't slept out. Actually, I'm getting a little old and creaky in the joints for sleeping out now. But I think the queuing's the best bit, actually. It's probably better than the concerts, really. I mean, you know...
Is there a lot of romance in the prom queue?
Engaged to be married.
Well done. And did you meet in the prom queue then?
Well, it's a long story, really. Peter met Paul in the prom queue, and Peter's from New Zealand, as I am. And so I went to their place for Christmas and met Paul. And then we got to know each other at last year's prom.
Right. Now, I believe if it wasn't for the proms, you wouldn't be here, isn't that right?
Something like that, I think, yes. My parents met, I think, back in 1957 here. And they married a year later.
Do you think a lot of romances start in the proms?
Well, my romance did.
Is it a special party?
Well, look, it's an anniversary.
Is it? Whose anniversary is it?
Well, these two people met here a year ago, Thursday.
Yes, Mum?
It's
Are you going to eat that bit?
No, we're going to keep it. In memory of what our friends have done for us.
Did you actually meet in a promenade queue?
No, we met underneath the archway of doors 13 and 14.
But nonetheless, the Albert Hall.
And I was told that my opening gambit was, I don't know your name, but would you like a drop of Glenmorangie?
What made you start conducting?
Well, I think Sir Malcolm inspired me a lot, because it was his technique, the way he could pick up any the batons it used to use. He could just pick one up. Or, can I put this in my mouth? Will it be all right? Pick up the baton. Ready, and off we would go with the technique.
I couldn't sit down in this hall. I wouldn't feel right.
But aren't you exhausted by the time you get into the concert after all this waiting?
Frequently. But you do, you get in there, and the hall itself gives you an enormous buzz. It's a super hall. And although people criticise it, they say, oh, the noise and the acoustic is bad. It isn't. It's a warm, friendly hall. It embraces you. And I think the round shape does that.
And you're looking forward to being in there again tonight?
Not half.
Proms first moved here 50 years ago in 1941. Then one of the great snags is the acoustic of the place. Everybody knows the notorious echo, which meant you could hear 2 concerts for the price of 1, so you might not want to. Well, now all that's been cured, mainly thanks to the acoustic flying saucers suspended from the ceiling 23 years ago in 1968. But acoustic saucers or not, the noise in here at present is pretty deafening, with the promenaders up in the gallery exchanging their customary shouts with their opposite numbers in the arena below. All the banners and streamers and mascots are being produced because, as always, it's party time at the Proms, the moment to relax after what's really been an epic couple of months. It always is. But this season has been rather special. Not least because at a time when the news from Russia has riveted all of us, there have been so many wonderful Russian occasions here this year. A very memorable performance of the all-night vigil of Rachmaninoff by a choir which flew back to Moscow only hours before the coup. A great opera by Prokofiev, Fiery Angel, with outstanding Russian soloists. stunning performances of symphonies by Shostakovich, including Britain's National Youth Orchestra, in the Leningrad Symphony. Perhaps now we'll have to call the St. Petersburg. And I'm not forgetting the other great occasions either, among which the visit of the Berlin Philharmonic was ranked very high indeed. And the Handel fireworks music was great fun too. Let's go back to the National Youth Orchestra for a moment. They had a 10-year-old harpist, Katrin Finch. And tonight we have the oldest performer to appear at this, or as far as we know, any other prom, 91-year-old Sidonie Goossens, will accompany Dame Gwyneth Jones on the harp in The Last Rose of Summer. I'm sure they'll both get a tremendous reception, even before the party really gets going with Land of Hope and Glory, Rule Britannia and Jerusalem. The second half of the concert will start with a reminder of one of Britain's major 20th century composers, Sir Arthur Bliss, born 100 years ago this year. We'll have the rather sinister but very popular march from his brilliant score for the 1925 movie Things to Come, and that'll be followed by the final offering of Russian music this season, the resounding Polovtsian dances from Borodin's opera Prince Igor. The dances are being given in their full choral version, which means the BBC singers and BBC chorus will be involved, together with the BBC Symphony Orchestra, who are on the platform, as they've always been, as long as I can remember, on the last night of the Proms. And that, I think, just about sets the scene for you. Great buzz of excitement as the second half is about to begin. All those young promenaders and not so young promenaders I was talking to out in the street this afternoon when they were getting ready to come into the hall tonight, well, a lot of them have been to many concerts this season. Here comes Bela Dekhanev, leader of the BBC Symphony Orchestra. He's at the end of a long run as co-leader of the BBC Symphony Orchestra, 22 years in fact. Brushing away a couple of streamers. And here comes a little ceremony that we always have on the last night of the Proms, the decoration of the bust of Sir Henry Wood with a chaplet, as I think it's called. A green wreath, they dust the top of his head, another traditional gesture. And Gordon Rowland Adams, the headmaster of Westminster Abbey Choir School, and Howard Stiles, the bank clerk from Tottenham, are entrusted with this onerous task tonight. Sir Henry Wood, who conducted his first prom in the Albert Hall 50 years ago this year. And here comes Andrew Davis, tonight's conductor. He starts us off in this final Proms roundup with the March from Things to Come by Sir Arthur Bliss. A glimpse of the future as it appeared in 1935, the march and the music for the film Things to Come by Sir Arthur Bliss. Now, in a moment, we shall go back into the past, to Russia's medieval past, which is the setting of Borodin's opera Prince Igor. The story is about the wars fought by a Russian prince against a nomadic Asian tribe called the Polovtsi. Their ruler, Khan Konchak, takes Prince Igor prisoner, but treats him with chivalrous courtesy. It's for the prince's benefit, a magnificent oriental finale to Act 2, that the Polovtsian dances are performed. We are going to hear them performed by the BBC Singers, and the BBC Symphony Chorus, and the BBC Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Andrew Davis. All the carnations that everybody is performing tonight are wearing are presented by the promenaders, as always, and they raised £4,300 this year between them for the Malcolm Sargent Cancer Fund, Kidney Research, and the Musicians' Benevolent Fund. Sir Henry Wood's score holder just by the side of the rostrum there, the Polovtsian dances from Prince Igor. Well, I think that just suited the promenaders. They all imagined themselves as Pelopian warriors and maidens, and there was a great deal of dancing around as we listen to the Pelopian dances from Prince Igor by Borodin. Splendid, spectacular choice for the last night of the Proms. BBC chorus in tremendous voice, given a special acknowledgement. Oh, look at that! Tremendous. A Mexican Way, the Mexican Way, performed by the BBC chorus quite splendidly. Never seen them do that before. They're looking forward, I know, to appearing with Andrew Davis later in the year in Birmingham, when they're going to be giving a performance of The Dream of Gerontius, which we had at the first night of this season of the Proms, of course. Well, as all that simmers down, we come to what promises to be a rather more intimate interlude. Dame Gwyneth Jones will sing a song well chosen as we approach the fall of the year, The Last Rose of the Summer, accompanied on the harp by Sidonie Goossens, who first appeared at the Proms in 1921 and was principal harpist of the BBC Symphony Orchestra for 50 years, from 1930 to 1980. When I visited her at her Surrey home the other day, I asked whether she still practices a great deal at the age of 91.
I don't practice a lot, but at the moment now I have to play. I had to start practicing again because I hadn't practiced very much for years. But I had to get my fingers working
But
again.
your fingers must be in a wonderful condition, aren't they?
They're all right, but I just have some arthritis in the right hand, unfortunately, and at times it's a bit painful. But I always just hope that it'll behave at a performance. I've always had it in the right hand for many years, really, but it hasn't let me down yet.
How do you think you'll feel when you go out onto that platform at the
I'll feel very nervous. I'm quite sure, because I've always felt nervous. I'm always quite nervous before a performance, but then I know I have to control it, but I'm quite sick, really. But this time, I just don't know how I'm going to feel, because it'll be such an excitement because I know the promenaders are going to call out Sid or something like that, I'm sure.
Tuesday. Well, you come back to the Albert Hall as everybody's doing a Mexican way. This has really caught on in the most extraordinary way. Somebody's going to fall over in a minute. I think we're in a bit of trouble. No, they're coming on, Gwyneth Jones. And, oh, we've got one more round up in the balcony, I think, before anybody's going to settle down for a moment. Here comes The Last Rose of Summer in a moment. And here is Sidonie Goossens with Gwyneth Jones to perform it. And they deserve a tremendous reception, the pair of them. Lovely traditional song, which featured in Friedrich Flotow's opera, Martha. And really became a tremendous favourite with prima donnas in Queen Victoria's time. Bouquets for Sidonie Goossens and Dame Gwyneth Jones, and a tremendous reception from the promenaders after that extraordinary moment of peace in the middle of all the uproar. The last rose of summer. They go down backstage to be relieved of their bouquets for the moment. And I'm not too surprised that they might just go back on. I think they probably will. There they go. Sidonie Goossens, who played at her first prom in 1921, 70 years ago, 50 years with the BBC Symphony Orchestra. She's often played in Home Sweet Home and the Sea Song selection, but never before has been featured in quite this way at the last night of the proms. There's a word or two with one or two old friends in the orchestra as she goes off. Well, I expect an encore would be popular, but it looks as if we aren't going to get it. We're going to come now to the grand patriotic finale of the proms after the harp has been removed. We started this evening with Elgar's Cocaine, first performed in June 1901. Just a few months later, his first Pomp and Circumstance March was first performed in Liverpool. It was, according to Elgar's own account, King Edward VII who was the first to suggest that the big tune from the march should be sung, and it was incorporated with words by A.C. Benson into Elgar's Coronation Ode, designed for the coronation of King Edward VII in June 1902. But the ceremony had to be postponed. The king was ill, and Land of Hope and Glory as we know it was first sung by Dame Clara Butt in London in the month of the proposed coronation. But here they come again, the two stars of the evening, Dame Gwyneth Jones and Sidonie Goossens. I think Sidonie wants to hear the rest of the concert. Yes, I'm sure she does. Why she should be cheated of that. And here come presentations from the promenaders. Presentation to Andrew Davis and to Sidonie Goossens and to Dame Gwyneth Jones. Linda West, who's a civil servant, made the presentation to our conductor, and that, I believe, is a splendid bottle of whiskey. What the other presentations are, except for the flowers, I'm not absolutely sure. Where were we now? Ah, yes, you know, the Pomp and Circumstance March #1 by Elgar. First introduced at the Queen's Hall in October 1901, when it was conducted by Sir Henry Wood, amid scenes of incredible enthusiasm. He had to encore the thing 3 times, which was really quite an extraordinary, absolutely exceptional affair. Totally unhelpful bit of tuning from the promenaders. And here's Andrew Davis running on to continue the concert with the Pomp and Circumstance March #1 by Elgar.
Jaya kucharas wharerai me tēnei mahi te mahi drifting.
I don't suppose you'd like another go at that, would you? Only, can we have it a bit louder? I've still got some hearing.
Well, wonders what the overseas listeners and viewers this concert must make of it. A number of concerts are taking parts of it. NHK in Japan are transmitting it live. The early hours of Sunday morning it is over there. Fascinating to know how many people are watching it. Perhaps some of them have learned to sing along with Land of Hope and Glory and joined in the encore with all the rest of us here. There's one big Japanese flag I've seen right in the middle of the arena here, waving away. I don't know whether, yes, we can catch a glimpse of it just as we look down now. Now we're going to have the Fantasia on British Sea Songs by Sir Henry Wood, or rather the customary shortened version of it, written to mark the centenary of the Battle of Trafalgar, 1905, but soon afterwards an institution at the last night of the Proms. Tonight the piece brings one farewell performance and one debut. Bela Dekany, who's been joint leader of the BBC Symphony Orchestra for 22 years, is now retiring. He'll lead the hornpipe for the last time. And here we go.
Let's see if you can follow the beat this time.
Well, a great kiss from Andrew Davis from Britannia. I may say the great roar for radio listeners that came out just before Rule Britannia was Dame Gwyneth Jones's appearance wearing a marvellous gold helmet, carrying a trident and a shield. Very fine she looks indeed. And let me just mention the youngest member of the orchestra making his debut. I didn't have time to mention him before. He played Tom Bowling so beautifully for us, the principal cellist of the BBC Symphony Orchestra, Paul Watkins, former finalist in the BBC Young Musician of the Year and the youngest principal in the BBC Symphony Orchestra. Britannia strides off the platform magnificently, hands over her trident to an attendant. Andrew Davies applauds and fingers the notes that he has to use now for his speech. Willis Jones backstage looking very relieved, I think, that all that's over.
Well, here we are. Almost the end of the 97th season of BBC Henry Wood Promenade Concerts. Yes. And I thought, why don't we take that rather wonderful old-fashioned title apart and look at it, starting at the end. So, concerts. Yes, they're concerts. And what concerts they be? Yes. That was very smart, yes. We have heard 67 concerts, 30 orchestras, 15 choirs, 7 chamber ensembles, 45 instrumental soloists, 68 solo singers, 44 conductors, heaven help us, and compositions by 91 composers, not counting encores. Yes, I think you'll agree that is an extraordinary list of sheer numbers. Yeah. Then you come see me afterwards, I'll give you your fee. They are promenade concerts. Now, what does promenade concerts mean? It means, first of all, to me, this wonderful building. And you know, it's 50 years this year that the Albert Hall has been host to the promenade concert. Yes. And there's an extraordinary coincidence that nobody discovered until about 3 days ago, which is that the last concert given in the Queen's Hall in 1941 before it was bombed was The Dream of Gerontius, which is the concert what we opened the first concert of the season with this year. And, believe it or not, the first programme that was given in the Royal Albert Hall immediately after that began with Cocaine Overture. Now, isn't that a coincidence? Oh. But we're very grateful to the Royal Albert Hall and to all the people who make our sojourn here so enjoyable. I should tell you that at the time of the move here, somebody wrote how wonderful it was to come to the Albert Hall with its cooling breezes. What happened? Speaking of cooling breezes, though, however, there are some people I would like to thank tonight who never seem to be appreciated enough, I think, and that's the volunteers of the St. John's Ambulance Brigade who do such sterling work every night. then, of course, I'm afraid there's no question about it, promenade concerts does imply some connection with promenaders. I'm sure many of you sitting on the plushly upholstered seats at one time or another have been down here. Or... and I mustn't forget up there, must I? Next, these are called the Sir Henry Wood Promenade Concerts, and I think this is the opportunity we've all been waiting for to pay our annual tribute to the extraordinary man who founded this wonderful festival, and who we always, of course, hear the sea songs. Oh, do you know, I did something terrible. I forgot all our soloists. Oh, we'll have to rectify this. Let's do this. So, on your feet. Yeah. Dear me, more than my job's worth. Anyway, Sir Henry, we heard of his arrangement of the sea songs. We also heard an extraordinary version, recomposition, if you like, of the last movement of Pictures and Exhibition by Sir Henry, which was the most... Oh, yes, quite. So, Sir Henry Wood, here's to you. Bravo. The final component, of course, of this beautiful title is the three magic words BBC. Now, oh, that's right, BBC is word, not letters, yes, it's letters, not words, you're quite right. But at any rate, be that as it may, what this means, of course, is that all these concerts are heard over the air and on television by millions of people, apart from your good selves, which is an extraordinary achievement. And it's also, of course, a chance for the BBC to show off what is its very own. And I refer, of course, to, in part, to those people ranged behind me on the stage tonight. The BBC Singers, I think, is one of the finest professional choirs in the world. The BBC Symphony Chorus is one of the finest amateur choruses I've ever come across. And the BBC Symphony Orchestra is an extraordinarily accomplished, dedicated, versatile, enthusiastic bunch of musicians whom I'm proud to be the chief conductor of. Right. I should mention, of course, the other BBC orchestras, the BBC Welsh Symphony, the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra, the BBC Philharmonic, and the BBC Concert Orchestra have also made wonderful contributions to this the Proms this year. So I think let us take the opportunity to give a round of applause to our groups here. The first, BBC Singers. Now, this has been the 60th anniversary season of the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and it's been a very exciting season. And, of course, it was particularly wonderful for all of us to have here tonight one of the founder members of the BBC Symphony Orchestra playing the harp, Miss Sidonie Goossens. And will you please welcome her back on... This is the most glamorous nonagenarian I've ever met. And of course, what an extraordinary thing to have Brunhilde singing Land of Hope and Glory. Dame Britain. Of course, I'm doing really well tonight. She didn't sing Land of Hope and Glory, did she? She sang Robert. Well, you know what I mean. There's one other person on the stage that I want to mention tonight. For 23 years, we've had the exquisite pleasure of working with one of the most delightful men that I know as leader of the BBC Symphony Orchestra. This is his final concert as leader of the orchestra. And we shall all miss him very much. He's been a great colleague, he's a wonderful musician, he's a dear friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bela Dekan. And just one more person I'd like to mention, and that's the person who makes this whole prom season work, puts the programs together with extraordinary imagination and flair, John Drummond. Now, it's been an extraordinary year, really, in the history of our planet this year. There are still, of course, many, many problems. There's much suffering in the world. But it seems to me that in some areas, at least, we stand on the threshold of an era where we shall see perhaps greater individual and collective freedoms, far greater opportunity for trust and cooperation between mankind than we've never known before. Let's hope, at least, that that will be the case. It struck me quite forcibly when I was preparing my notes for this little homily that, quite by accident, 3 of the pieces in the first half of this program seem to be nudging us in the right direction. The immolation scene from Götterdämmerung, of course, is the grand finale of perhaps the most massive cautionary tale ever told, showing as it does the catastrophic consequences of greed, ambition, corruption, and mistrust. Yes, quite. Delius's walk to the Paradise Garden, on the other hand, is perhaps reminding us if we are to salvage any of the purity and beauty of the Garden of Eden, we jolly well better take responsibility, each and every one of us, for the preservation and health of our world. And finally, Walt Whitman's magnificent text, so beautifully and gloriously set by Vaughan Williams, brings home to us what we, at any rate in the artistic community, must always, I think, have before us, which is that our ultimate goal must be the enrichment and growth of the human soul and the constant pushing back of the barriers, of the frontiers, of what we may spiritually perceive and take into ourselves. And this is really only achieved by a lot of hard work, by vision, daring, and great, I believe, great leaps of faith. Anyway, I do hope that this year's proms have succeeded in adding some new dimensions to the lives of all of you that have witnessed its cornucopia of music. And I hope that you will all prosper and thrive till we meet again for another great festival next year. Thank you.
it's very nearly over for another year. I don't think anybody here really wants to go home. We've all enjoyed ourselves very much indeed this evening. Andrew Davis descends from the rostrum to greet Sidonie Goossens and Dame Gwyneth Jones, our soloist tonight, and you have noticed how gracefully he credited all the leaders of the different departments of the BBC Symphony Orchestra who had solos in the Fantasia on British Seaside. Well, it's all over, the 1991 season of Henry Wood Promenade Concerts. The audience here have tremendously enjoyed this occasion, and indeed I think it's true to say the whole season, which has introduced so many important musical events, so many marvellously enjoyable evenings of music, performed by the greatest artists in the world and many of the finest orchestras. Sidonie Goossens and Gwyneth Jones return now to take yet another call from the promenaders. Andrew Davis in the background. Kiss from Sidonie for Bela Dekany, the leader who's retiring this year, BBC Symphony Orchestra. Everybody on the platform standing. BBC Symphony Chorus, the BBC Singers, and the BBC Symphony Orchestra. So all that remains to say is that we very much hope to have your company at the first night of the 1992 Proms. It'll all come round incredibly quickly, I'm absolutely sure. But just for the moment, from the Royal Albert Hall, we'll say good night to you.